title them or whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah. Okay, so after three failed attempts to do a YouTube, we're going to do it here. And if I do those on the YouTube, I don't know. They'll either be the ones I do solo, I guess, or figure that out. So you're pretty positive it wasn't your internet, right? Anything like that?
Yeah, I didn't have any problems on your end.
Because it's weird, because it looked like it was fine, so I don't get that. But anyways, and then it worked fine when I didn't have the entropy link in, and it wasn't private. Something to do with that, so that's weird.
Right.
Anyways, I'll have to figure that out in some other time. So, you got a list?
Yeah, we got a list. Yep. Want to go ahead as if you didn't just hear my explanation?
But I didn't hear
Or
it. I heard. I only heard the very ending, the bit about rap, because you froze up. I heard nothing.
oh,
I still don't
all
know
right.
what this fucking thing is that you're talking about. No
All
clue.
right. All right. Well, let's get into it then. All right. So, Karl Marx came up with a concept basically to describe how late stage capitalism would unfold, at least culturally. And this basically was a way of describing cultures that melded into each other and then spliced in ways that would be, you know, they would be exacerbations of individualized movements, and they were referred to as waves of vapor. So you have all these different aspects. Say, for instance, as for the mechanism that we were discussing in my newest article about the banality of corporate culture, whereas you would have hippies that would dress in bowler hats and things like this and wear, peace signs on them in a way to basically take the picket fence culture and satirize it as a way. So uh, effectively, waves of vapor work very well with satirization. And it's been done several times. Andy Kaufman did a good bit of this with his routines, where he would act like lounge singers, or he would act like game show hosts, whatnot, and do them in these very ominous, awkward ways. And this is basically also in coincidence with the waves of vapor idea.
Well, I don't quite get that. So, what's Marx's idea of waves of vapor? Was that capitalism, where different groups were going to coincide and meld together? You said originally. So, how does that end up with Andy Kaufman? I don't quite get it.
Oh, well, basically, I feel like I explained this way better the first time. How that goes.
Probably. Oh well.
Well, probably how it works is basically once this individualized movement or this individualized capitalist creation loses its importance, it becomes subject to scrutiny and to the evolution of the culture. So, therefore, when lounge singers lost their appeal, uh, it became important to take that and satirize it in a way that kind of sunsets it in its final form.
So, what is the wave? What does he mean by waves of vapor? I don't get it. Like, what's that alliterating? What's that alluding to?
The
As in, like,
cultures are the vapor.
so the cultures are like evaporating
Yes.
because they combine with other ones.
Yeah. They combine with other ones. You know how we've discussed how there's a 20-year lull of culture that basically has it come back, and it's in its most canned form. that's basically also an aspect of the waves of vapor, because the culture it can be as lazy as it wants and doesn't have to invent any new culture. It just brings it back and strips it down to its most basic parts.
So this was his critique of capitalism. So what was his? Did he have a communist answer to this? Did he think communism was going to preserve culture somehow, or he
Well,
didn't care about?
no. I guess do they ever have a solution is a real question. No, they don't ever have solutions. They come up with interesting problems
Right.
that require no solution other than complete subservience.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, I can see that. Waves of vapor. It's a weird way to put it, and maybe like when you mentioned the hippies and the bowler hats, that's not the full story with them exactly. Like I remember saw some show. It was a British show about the very early hippie movement, very early in the '60s, and a lot of it was started then by just it was like kids. As you said, when you said bowler hats, it reminded me of it because it was just like kids going through their old like grandparents'
Right.
closets, just as a matter
Right.
of fashion. Yeah, and just like finding these old clothes and hey, this is great. I'm just going to wear this crazy old hat and dance around to some rock music. And it was just like a fairly I was going to say empty. That's not the word, but lighthearted fashion movement of sorts. But then it became when the drugs came into it, it became a bit heavier and better really. And so it wasn't. It didn't strike me as like mm, I don't know. Like you can say. So you would say this is waves of vapor because it's the hippies combining with the actual bowler hat culture and evaporating to nothing
Mm.
in combining. See, I don't think I would agree that that's something that happens at all. I don't. I think they created something new in combining two old things, which is what I think every art does. Um, every new creative thing is like a combination of at least two or more old influences. So I don't know. Am I confused? Do you think about his
More
theory?
so, I was saying that basically it was kind of a disrespect that was placed upon. The reason why they would do these things is to satirize the importance in this get up, this way of this fashion of the Madison Avenue uh, contemporary, or not even contemporary, the contemporary way of satirizing the Madison Avenue way of dressing in suits and bowler hats and what have you.
Right. Yeah. Well, that was just one of your examples of it, anyways.
Yeah.
So, but you think it's a genuine phenomenon that explains what's been happening to culture? You think Marx was right about that, do you?
I think Marx is right about that, but I don't think that he saw the end result, which is, as we know, basically just mumble rap and TikTok, basically.
Forever. Yeah.
Yeah, forever. I
Mumble
don't know
rap,
if there
mumble.
was. I don't think there was ever any kind of solution other than just to basically go and steal that culture until they create this amalgama culture.
Yeah. Well,
The oh,
I'm hearing my
why
voice
I'm
back.
hearing my voice back.
And it looks like we're at the end of the bolt.
Shit.
Good.
I'm hearing my
I'm hearing
voice
my
acting.
voice acting.
We've got all new
We've got
technical
all new technical.
difficulties. Did you do something? No. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Okay, now it sounds better. Sorry. Yeah, I was hearing myself repeated there. Whatever
Yeah,
happened.
I have no idea.
You went out and came back in and went away. Something to do
Now
with
it's a lot quieter. Son of a bitch bastard.
that. Jesus, we're plagued by the gremlins here.
We're
We are having technical difficulties. Holy fuck.
let's see.
But see, I always think of it like as culturally what's happening in the greater part. I mean, obviously, I wrote a whole book on this, and I've carried on about it up and down and forever. In the living day-to-day way, I think the greatest part of it is the middleman culture, the globalism, nothing at all is made locally. Less and less of everything is made locally, when all of culture sprang from just being limited to a locality and using whatever resources you had around you to make your food, your clothes, your items, your art, your buildings. Now it's nothing. There's none of that, and more so, everything must be global and controlled by the global shipping magnets and the system of international shipping and stuff like this. Like the people that control that, the people that control the freighters and the trucks really are stuff. And this middleman of unnecessary, this our entire economy, everything, and the ethos of the World Economic Forum and Schwab and all those guys. It's all based around everything. All their little solutions revolve around preserving this. They don't ever criticize this system. I'd suggest we go back to having less global, more local type culture where you just sustain yourself where you are, because that leads obviously to local community pride and eventually to nationalism, I guess. One of the main reasons. Well, that's incidental to the money they make in this perpetual Walmart system, but that is the death knell of any culture. I think when you
Apparently.
when nothing you make yourself, or nothing you have or use is actually made by you, and all your work, like all of our work, is sort of international, or it's not. There's no limits to it in one way, but then we are utterly cultureless for it, because the only way to do anything is within the confines of the system, which is involved around everything being shipped around the world continually, being manufactured in certain hotspots, and nobody making their own culture. I always think that is
I mean, we're
the main culprit for what's going on, because I think a culture evolves. Like, what are you talking about, the vapors? That's fine, but new things do arise from that. Like, you can say, like, even what's his name, the era of Kaufman and those guys you mentioned, those comedians, or that 60s era. You can criticize it
Mhm.
quite a bit, but it was good creative stuff overall.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Compared to what we have now, they did a lot of good stuff, and there was a lot of good comedians, a lot of good culture going on.
A lot of the culture created from the waves of vapor is actually really good. I mean, hell, they have vapor wave, which was just like the most honed form of both of these affected areas. They basically found obscure music and slowed it down and gave it this international culture. And I mean, I'm not just saying that that's the only one, but well, like you said, with Andy Kaufman and a lot of this kind of satire, it's all really good content. It's very funny.
Yeah, some of his stuff was pretty funny. Like when he was wrestling the ladies and that, when he was like, and he
Yes.
refused to he refused to drop the mask and all that. That was
Oh
pretty
yeah,
funny.
the kayfabe and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a huge Andy Kaufman fan, or I still am. I actually got to see Bob Zamuda as Tony Clifton in Los Angeles. That was fucking awesome.
Did you? No
Yeah,
way. That's
yeah,
funny.
yeah. I did. I got to have some whiskey with Tony Clifton. It was pretty cool.
That's good. Yeah. I used to kind of
Yeah.
like, he's nowhere in their league, but I used to kind of like that. There was a newer comic that was kind of trying to do something kind of like that. What was his name? Something like Neil Hamburger or something like that. You ever see that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he was kind of funny. He was kind of like trying to be like that. Not as
Right.
good though. Not nearly as good. So what? You got to talk to this guy and have a beer with him, did you?
Oh yeah, yeah. I was sweet on this girl, and she was a dancer. And so I asked her, hey, what are you into tonight? She said, oh, I'm working. I said, oh, that's cool. It's like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm dancing for Tony Clifton. I was like, get the fuck out of here. And so she gave me a fucking free ticket, and we went and got wasted with Tony Clifton after the show. It was great.
What was he saying? Was he just
I
like
mean,
regular guy?
I'm pretty sure it was Bob Zamuda. I didn't ask because he was in character and there's lots of people around, but
You
I
mean he
I
all night drinking? He didn't break character, even no matter how drunk he got.
no, he didn't break character at all.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was hilarious. The show was really funny too. He did a a lot of really, I mean, sketches that if they were done in LA to now you would be put in prison for at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny. He would be for
But
sure. Yeah.
but yeah, no, he didn't break character at all. So I didn't want to get too deep into it. And I didn't get to hang out with him very long, maybe like 5, 10 minutes, you know.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
it's funny. It's funny these little encounters people have with famous people now and then. I have a buddy who's he says this. He's not a buddy. He's a guy I know, and I don't even like him that much. He smoked a joint with Neil Young or something. He was at a show, and Neil Young was like, "Can you get me some weed? I'm down for some weed." So he got him some, and he like hung out with him and was smoking weed with him. This guy is the
Oh yeah.
most fucking uninteresting, like lame guy I ever met in my life. He's like he's like a trader or whatever, and all this kind of like all he ever talks about is how you should buy gold and all this nonsense.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I just thought it
Is he
was.
big for his own gold?
But I don't know what he does. I mean, he apparently made a lot of money off the 9/11 when in between the two planes, he moved some money around between the first and the second. He gets the second was or something or other. That's what he said. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. This guy. Who cares?
Hmm.
That was a lame thing to bring up. Pardon me. So, anyways, is there anything else to the fucking what's it called? Vapors.
I don't
We
think so.
move
I
on.
think I fucking bungled that as hard as I possibly could. I've nailed it the first time, boy. The first time that y'all didn't hear, I fucking, oh man, I had it all squared away in like a sentence. It was beautiful.
Well, that's very sad. Well, God decided you were not to have your day with it.
No,
You were
apparently not.
zapped. Mm.
So now I hope you're just as confused as when you went into it.
Well, vapors, okay, so they evaporate and culture combine, but I just don't. I think when culture combines, it does make new culture. So I don't know that that's. I mean, of course, I don't expect Marx to actually be insightful about anything. Fucking that piece of shit.
Well, you
So
don't
fuck.
think late stage capitalism was basically where we're at now?
Well, yeah,
Because I think it
capitalism
is.
is terrible. Oh yeah, yeah, it is like that. Yeah, but I mean, say that it evaporates through admixture. That's not how I
Not
would put it at all.
necessarily that
Not
it's not exactly that it uses all the scientific method of vapor. It's more so that it just passes over. In so many
yeah.
words. Yeah.
Well, all culture is changing all the time. You can look at it in a consequentialist way, and there's nothing you can do about it. Let's say, I mean, ultimately, everything does come down to consequentialism and the Ragnar Redbeard view of the world,
Hmm.
where if something is happening or has happened, I mean, that's it. You can whine about it all you like, but there you go. It was destined to be, and it's doing this now. I mean, anyone who has effect or agency upon the world, then hopefully, creates their own cause and effect thing as well, or against that, and so forth. But in terms of what has happened and the way things are, in a consequentialist way, it's just like bound to be. So culture was destined to do what it's doing. I guess you can always say that and look at it. I mean, there's obviously arguments against that, and you can say individual free will and various parties are making it this way, and it's not necessary. It's not um, didn't have to be this way, and so forth. But I'm ultimately something of a consequentialist in that. Not that it's right or good or anything else, but just something is inescapably gone a certain way. Like, fucking, what can you do?
The largest hammer came down, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't think I agree with his. I wouldn't compare it to that. I have many critiques of capitalism as well, and in terms of what it does to culture. But what we have now, I wouldn't call it communism or capitalism or anarchism or any of those. Everyone tries to explain it in these ways. I think what I was saying is closer to what it is, and what it is obviously you have the media baron cosmopolitans who want things a certain way, but even they, I believe, are acting somewhat chaotically and not even in their own best interest overall, in a kind of perpetually negative, paranoid way that they do. And they do want to destroy Europe and Europeans and things as well. But I do think that system I'm talking, the globalist sort of basis of the economic system, which is capitalist, I know, but it's moving into something else. That people try to call it techno-feudalism, I think. Is that what they call it? Something feudalism
I
they compare it to.
guess there's a lot of words to try and hide the true nature of what we're dealing with, and I don't know. There's you can get so particular about it, but what we're dealing with is basically capitalism at its true form, which is just complete
Well, I don't
stifling of
know.
creative energies, especially ones
I
that are in opposition.
I do think it needs a new name. I would call it something else. I don't think it is capitalism in true form or any of them. Just like I don't think the modern supposed communists, like Western college students that are transvestites and all this, are like anything resembling communists at all, and they really shouldn't. They should be called something else. I used to call them transvestite communists as a kind of hyphenated word to sort of show they're not really, they're nothing to do with like Soviet fucking wheat gatherers. They're
Sure.
there's something else that they're related in a way, but
Yeah,
really something else.
I don't think they're communists at all.
Yeah, not really, are they? Yeah, because communists had a kind of folkiness to them, really, in a way, didn't they?
Yeah,
The
they did.
Soviet and the Chinese ones, they definitely were a bit folky.
I mean, hammer and sickle, right? What do you
Yeah.
do with those things? You don't
Mm.
like cut your dink off with it. I mean, you do now.
Hammer your dick off, yeah. Yeah.
Hammer your dick.
Hammer it and then cut it. Yeah, you do now.
Flatten that son bitch.
Cut my dick off, please.
Someone isolate that.
Fucking gays. But in the same way, the economic system of the West and like the wider world, based on this continual shipping of things perpetually, and it cannot stop. It's got to keep moving, keep going. It doesn't matter how many environmentalists whine about plastic or fuel ultimately and stuff like this. Nothing changes the overall system, and it's continually trying to sell you better bargains at a better price with things from somewhere else.
Right.
It's like it's more of an overload than people keep in perspective or in the frame of their mind, and just even goals more than is readily apparent. And I don't know how related I mean, it is related to the media and the media control as well, obviously. But how much, who's more in control of what, I don't know. I mean, it's anyways. But that's not the point. The point was what to call it. I wouldn't call it. I mean, what do you call that? It is related to capitalism because it's all about money, in a way, but it's also about refusing, being terrified of tradition and like localism. This is a word I've just invented, maybe localism. But like
Localism. I like that. That's not bad.
it, or maybe it probably exists and it's been used. Localism, yeah. But
Sure.
you know what
Maybe
I
by
mean.
Mark.
This is the last thing in the world they'll ever. Maybe by who?
So
Marx,
maybe
yeah.
by Mark.
Fucking Marx. Probably he did too. Yeah, son of a bitch. Oh, that fucking guy. That dirty dog.
Incredible
saying?
hair. I'll just say that much.
Yeah, nice lid. Nice lid, Marx.
Yeah.
But it's fucking monobrow. That swarthy, like, caterpillar brow. Swarthy is swarthy is what he was.
That's definitely a word I would use. Yeah.
I actually tried to read the communist thing at one point. I have it here somewhere. I
Yeah.
couldn't even. It was just so boring.
I hear it's massive, and yeah.
I think I have an abridged version. It's not that big, but even then, it was just too boring. I was like, oh god, I don't believe it, and it's boring. I just can't. I cannot. I read some parts of it, and it didn't sound like overly brilliant or anything. Like just like okay, I think. Well, who else did I read at the same time? I wasn't that impressed. Was it John Locke or one of these guys?
Oh God, that sounds even worse than Marx.
Oh, I don't know. Who wrote Leviathan? Was it him or I can't remember now. Not that interesting. Not overly interesting, and not or near the level of cleverness you'd find in an author from antiquity or anything. So it was just like, okay, I'm learning a certain amount, but it's more like you can sense it's more based in the author's bias than This is my feeling, anyways. Then total observation at any cost, no matter what it costs you, no matter what you feel, subjectively, kind of thing. You know,
Yeah.
it was more just like, this is my bias, and this is the way I want things to be. Totally anti-consequentialist, as it were. Not Ragnar Red. If you read Ragnar Redbeard, is actually pretty good. It's short.
I've heard.
No, it's a good little read, actually.
No, I said I've heard it is good. Yeah, I've never read it myself.
It's just like brutal, just like it's really brutal, but true. I mean, utterly true. I think.
Isn't there a theory that Friedrich Nietzsche wrote that?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I don't think he'd even be capable of it. It's too. It is brutal. I mean, and true. All I can say about it. They think it's this guy, some journalist. This is years ago since I read about this guy. So, but it seemed plausible, anyways, as to who it likely really was. But yeah, I really would recommend you read it if you haven't. But anyways, we're still on. Got a lot of talk out of that stupid fucking vapor shit.
Hey, I like it. It's
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to
No, I
the
mean,
next
no,
one,
I'd
because
like this has been good. This has been a good start somewhere, end up on a different planet thing. It's been cool.
okay, it's always going to be good. That's why I would like to try and do it as a live stream, because it'd be handier if we could just get over the technical bullshit.
Right.
Yeah, there's no doubt it's going to be good, for God's sake. It's only like there's like what is it, 10 odd people listening to it live, but I mean, Jesus, the gems these lucky devils are getting.
I know, right?
Let's move on to the next one, because I don't actually, between messing around with the other thing, I don't actually have all night here.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I got well, it's the weirdest thing. I don't really even know what postmodernism is. I have a conception of it, but I think it's from my own, stringing together of definitions and perspectives. What is postmodernism?
Oh, Jesus. It's nothing. It's just more modernism. New
Is
name.
it?
As far as I can see, yeah. I don't see much difference. More the same shit. I mean, once you, of course, delineate that there's a good modernism and a bad modernism, and they've lied their way into,
Yeah.
embracing all those things that we have to call modernism that shouldn't be called modernism, like Art Nouveau and all that, and so many other things. But it's basically the exact same philosophy as Pollock and Rothko and Frank Gehry and all those guys. It's just like I read it once. I explained it in my book, I'm pretty sure. But I have to look at the definitions of these movements that are just like random nonsense. They can say what they like about themselves, but it's the same basic theory behind it all. So I'd have to look. I think I can't remember how they try to explain it. Something like going from the foundation of modernism into even more, adventurous exploration, this kind of bullshit is what they'd probably say about it. I don't know. Trying to say, basically, just a movement trying to find something new after modernism. But like, as we know, we've discussed this and things like Trap for Your Mind and stuff, or in my book. And they try to find adventurous new ways. Like, what's the next thing? But once they've entered into their looking at art the way they do, there's no escape, and it stays the same forever. That's the problem. Once you've entered into believing art is pure expression, personal expression, and by necessity in its highest levels, abstract, and things like this, you get trapped in the loop they're in. So there's no all the new movements. Postmodernism was just a way to think that they're still evolving and changing when they're not. And then you had abstract expressionism, conceptualism. You can say there's little variation in there as much as they can sort of try to dream up, but it's just the same shit. Just like random, goofy, shocking crap.
Right.
Would you not agree, or what? What's the
Yeah,
difference?
I agree. The way that I view postmodernism, I think, comes from abstraction. For instance, we used to have this show house way back in the day, and we'd have events there. And the best way that I can basically conceptualize postmodernism is kind of from a satirical angle. We would have basically performers come in there to do something extremely shocking or weird, and then it'd be there to drive out the people that took modernism very seriously. For instance, we had this one guy. He went by Gape Horn.
Oh Jesus!
And what he did is he taped a microphone to his head and put all sorts of different effects to it and rolled in broken glass. This
Yeah.
guy was
All
a
right.
draw. Yeah.
Yeah, he's an artist. He's doing art.
Well, he's somewhat. It was, I mean, like I said, the show house was a little tongue in cheek. So we would get these people there just to have people looking on with serious, intention. Like, oh wow, that's deep. It's like, no, he's a drug addict, and he does this for like change. That's like
Yeah.
what we're doing here, right? And
Right. Yeah.
and so that's my kind of conception of postmodernism. I look at it more from a satirical angle, and especially since the people I know that partook a lot of this, not so much gay porn, but they all became pretty aligned with national politics around the same time I did, which doesn't shock me at all, in fact.
Why is that?
Well, because like I said, that we did this as more of a put on. It was a thing to kind of to be a reaction to the people that were really into modernism, were into the paint smears and the socio political statements, what have you. And we were there just to just be fucking hooligans.
Right. Yeah. I suppose I can see that. Yeah. But even then, like Andy Warhol and then some of them were doing it like that, being sort of cynical and ironic about it all very early
Yeah,
on. And is he? Would you call him postmodern, or what's his category? Probably he's
that's good.
postmodern.
Yeah,
Huh?
I don't really know what to consider him. I mean, he's in psychedelic
Pop art.
movement as well, so who the fuck knows?
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean, it's
sure you
pop
can.
art, right? So
Pop
that's
art.
what they
Yeah.
call it.
Yeah. All these things. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's even when you say you're being in reaction to something like that, it just kind of reminds me of being within trapped in their ethos and their attitude to
Sure.
art a little bit. But then it's true though that every should be reacting and you should be creating new movements through reaction though. So that's not entirely the case. But I don't know. I don't know. I tend to regard it all pretty much the same. But as foundationally, they're all acting from a premise towards art, which is the same, which is anything but tradition or anything but they think they're being perpetually new by being trapped in a kind of chaos, just like your buddy, like rolling in glass. Let me like, do the goofiest, craziest thing possible, but they run out of goofy, crazy things. They can only get naked so many times,
Right.
rolling glass or whatever they're doing, and then none of it is particularly meaningful or moving in any way. You're not going to get a Beethoven or a Rembrandt by
Right.
doing this, and you will
One.
be you're set in opposition to that perpetually for as long as this continues. And like artists, because you really have to. They've made as well as everything else. There's a lot of people can't let go of. They've created a lofty idea of art that isn't true. Like not just about personal self-expression, but that it's not at its heart just really craft. That ultimately Rembrandt and Beethoven are just really, really highly advanced people, like the same as the guy that makes a chair, or what I mean. Like at its heart, it's a craft taken to the hyper genius level, and it has spiritual connotation and all this. But you know, you should never completely remove yourself from that idea that with the creation of what we call fine art, with Greenberg's idea of art. It gives it this lofty, holistic, surreal thing, the realm of the genius that you can't understand, which isn't true, and it's all bullshit. And all they do is run around with their pants down.
Right.
And
Yeah.
the grounded, earthy, real art always remembers that it's craft, and you have to learn it at its very basic level as craft from the ground up through all the levels.
We
And
used
it takes a
we
lifetime
used
to do it. If you want to, you can't just randomly, oh, I'm a Rembrandt because I'm such a genius with my one-time painting I did in a couple days. It doesn't work like that. And if you want to say that painting's done because of photography and with no need for sculpture like we used to, or I mean, it's not true. And even if painting could never be as popular as it was, there's people that certainly want to do it. I think it's even at the genetic level that people are sort of have a desire and an ability with painting, if they were allowed to, if the system would permit it, that would keep it alive as an art form.
right. Yeah, I
Even
mean,
with
I
even with
definitely
even
think
with
there's
technology even with technology like photography, because people think technology has banished, like certain people, usually some more libertarian types, just think, oh, technology and advance and progress has made these things obsolete. That's not the case. It's much more the philosophy of Greenberg that banished anything else. But a lot of people refuse to believe this, no matter how many times I say it, and they think, no, that's not it, or they don't listen, or they don't care, or they don't. Usually, people that have not tried to be artists, I think. I often think. What did you think? You read my book years ago, didn't you? You told me you read it, or did you just skim it,
yeah.
or
Oh, I
and
definitely
did you
read it. Yeah.
and you agreed, or what, or did you think? Is there things you don't agree with in there? I never asked you that.
I
What?
I don't remember so much. It's been a couple years, but I will
Well,
say
that's true.
that
Yeah.
I do think that there is a top-down stifling of any kind of artful culture, absolutely. And I
Right.
think it's done with those specific critiques in mind, whereas, technology can dictate a better means of expression, which is just not true. You don't get the same feeling off of a giant photo as you do from a painting, and seeing all the details and seeing, the humanity in it, as it were. So the idea that we we just found better ways of expressing it is that's just nonsense. That's bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was the list item here? Was that postmodernism? What was it?
Yeah.
What is postmodernism? Is that what we were talking about?
Yeah, I wanted to tell you a little bit more about some of the events we had at this place because
All right.
they're pretty fucking funny. We had this band that used to go on. They went by Kurt Russell, and they're like grindcore or whatever, right? But
Right.
these guys, they were all very funny. And yeah, okay, so band members would get naked and stuff, sure, and then they would wrap themselves in like ICP flags, and they'd sing songs that were all like 30 seconds long, and they'd all have very, very deep titles, which was really funny. They were probably one of our favorite bands to put on because people just, they got fucking buck wild. And they
Yeah.
would go like, "This song is for the Socialist Republic of Chile and its new aristocracy," and then what the fuck? And that's it. And that's like the whole song. That shit
Yeah.
was really, yeah, but like I said, there's this aspect of that was obviously it was poking the it was poking, I guess, the system of people that took modernism seriously in the eye, and that's why a lot of people really glommed onto it. I guess the reaction to the reaction, it became the normality.
Yeah. Yeah. Normality. Well, it's whatever the normal person cruises along with. Despite what we might say, whatever they take up and keep going with, we are forced to live with.
Right. Oh yeah,
Normality.
no, yeah, no, it's great. I mean, we try to
Yeah, I
exist in
remember
this
bands like there used to be a
strange.
lot more. Used to be a lot more like niche bands, like crazy bands that you would hear and just like in your area that were good and you remember them. If I think back to that time, yeah, there would have been lots, and maybe in a different world over time they would have got more. They would could have kept going and got more famous, but or something like that. I don't know. The whole era of like bands seems to like kind of fade away almost.
I
in the
agree. I haven't seen that in a long time. This area where I grew up was a huge area for bands and metal and all sorts of stuff. I haven't heard of any band coming out of this that doesn't do like, support our troops like butt rock in a very, very long time.
I haven't even seen that. I mean, I know a few kind of wedding bands,
Yeah,
and I know some guys that play, and I'm supposed to maybe record some music with this guy, Bleeding Holograms, or like he's offered to sort of help me record some stuff. I might
that's a
try
cool
and
name.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm thinking of doing that. I've got a bunch of little ditties I've saved and like ideas for songs, but it's something
Yeah.
obviously that it's a huge expenditure of effort that will make no money and take a lot of time.
Man,
And
that's the thing about music. That's what I hate about it is that it's so fucking time consuming for, I mean, a hopeful wish of payoff.
there won't be a payoff. I know that, but I do. Before I die, I'd like to have like created, as well as the books and everything. I'd like to have created an album of music and say, look, here, I did this. Would like to do it
Yeah.
at some point. But I mean,
Yeah.
at the moment, it's tricky. It's a tricky thing at the moment.
It's real
So,
tricky. Make sure you tune like 5, 10 times before you record like note 1, because you'll definitely hear it if you don't.
what do you mean?
Well, I mean, just you gotta make sure your shit's like major in tune with new strings. I mean, yeah.
Why? What's the big deal? What do you? I wouldn't. I've
They
recorded
just
the music.
go when you listen to it back, you'll hear how out of tune it is, and it'll fucking drive you crazy. Yep.
I've recorded things before, and I have never. I showed you my shitty ass recordings from like years ago, right? Like
I
I think
don't
I've showed you
I don't
a
know.
long time ago.
Maybe. Did
It's
you?
pretty crazy. Well, I'll do it again if you've forgotten, but they're they're just drunken, crazy things, but they're not. I never listen back and think, oh, that's out of tune. And one of them, even I like break a string and like fuck up the whole ending, but I never worry about it being out of tune. Might be because I
Yeah.
had that hyper fuzz distortion pedal. It distorted things so badly. It was like a wall of fuzz. You couldn't even tell the notes really.
Well, there you
So
go. That's
let alone
that
was it in
would
tune. It
probably
was
be
just
your
like a wall
culprit.
of fuzz. Yeah, could be. Anyways, what's next on the list? Let's get through it.
Yeah.
I
Well,
definitely have to go soon.
yeah, that's fine. Stop motion is good. That's about it.
Stop motion is good, right?
We could do all sorts of historical context for why this is an incredible medium or whatnot, but
Well,
we're on a time here, so
okay, yeah. Well, no, okay. So stop motion is good, yeah. When you saw stop motion, any of it, from King Kong to fucking Clash of the Titans or
right.
Empire Strikes Back, maybe less so on that because it was so refined, but RoboCop, all the little places it appeared, you always got a feeling like you could tell what they were doing, and in the back of your mind, there was a feeling like I could do that myself. This was the joy of old special effects, really, as a kid or even as an adult, to watch them and you think, oh, that's a Muppet. That's a guy in a mask. There's stop mo. He's doing that frame by frame with a little toy thing to make the dinosaur look like it's alive. And you would think, I could do this. And that's really a huge part of the joy of it. It was like to appreciate, first of all, the level of attention to detail they've gone to for this film to do it, to such a high degree where it seamlessly works
Madden.
into this thing. Yeah. And it would be like you could just appreciate the shit out of it. Like the amount of work and effort that went into it. You're like, holy fuck. Like, because first of all, you think, you don't just think, I could do that, and it gives you a little thrill, like, oh, they're doing something I could do. I could figure this out. I could do this one day. You also appreciate that they've taken it to a level that would be extremely hard to replicate, and that's where you get your artistic appreciation for a thing or a film. Because nowadays there's this fucking shitty CGI computer thing, fucking ding dong, zeros and ones. There you go. It's totally inhuman and cold and lifeless fucking bullshit. You can't even, and you feel
Exactly.
nothing. You just think you feel nothing. So
Yeah,
that's
I
what I would say
can't do
about
this,
someone.
and that's why it sucks.
Not just that. It's like it doesn't even look real. Like it's only when they
No.
use it super subtly does it actually create a feeling of total realism. Like like when they barely use it, but it's there. What was a film that they? There's a couple of films where they use it, where like you don't even notice that it's CGI because it's like super subtle. Usually though, that's not
Right.
the
Yeah.
case. Usually it's overblown, like
Multimedia.
long. Yeah, usually it's like a you know long panning shots from the sky of a war of like all these little CGI men running at each other, and I don't know.
Everything's so shiny.
It's so fluid, it's so overly fluid, and you can
Right.
just tell that what it wasn't done by a bunch of guys in a studio or in their basement, and it sucks. Shit. That's what I would say
Yeah. I
about it.
mean the the knowledge that it is an actual object is also, because when you see it, you can tell that this is like an actual thing. It was made, it was crafted by hands. And so, yeah, the aspect that you said about how thinking that I can do that, that I guess is part of the allure. I've never really thought about it so much in that context. More so just looking at it and seeing that it's real, and knowing that every single thing that moves on it has to be done with a human touch is awe inspiring when I see it, because it's my favorite animation style. Probably has been since I was a child. I was really big into like Harryhausen movies when I was a wee one, and even like Gumby and shit. And so
Yeah,
uh
Gumby.
yeah, I really wanted to kind of break into that in the industry if I went into the industry, but it just got way too gay, and my interest in being a part of that just kind of dwindled out. But it would have been neat to be there in the '60s or shit, yeah, in the '60s or '70s.
Yeah, we both were around a time when all these things were ending. They were taken away.
Right.
If it wasn't by Yeah, so there was things we grew up with that we maybe wanted to do. By the time we got around to being able to do them, generally they were gone or it was difficult. Um,
Or they're just
you know,
gay.
well, people still got away with it. So you could say, what's his name? Certain people kept it up, like Wallace and Gromit or something. I don't know. Like there's certain studios that kept doing um
There were.
stop
Leica does a
motion.
pretty good job. They got some really shitty history, but they do a pretty good job with some of their productions.
Who?
They did Coraline and a couple other.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess there's some places that do it still, and they manage to do it, but it's not. It wasn't. It was everything was being superseded and overtaken by CGI. When I was going in art school, towards the end, I thought I'd try to study some stuff like that. But it was just like, no, there's no. If you're going into animation, you study computer. Study.
yeah, that's gay.
At, yeah, at that time it was. What did I study? 3D studios.
I
So it
studied a
was.
lot of experimental animation when I was in college, and that's the reason why I basically took that to work on live visual effects for bands and DJs.
Right. Right. And that worked out for you for a while, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to be a millionaire at about age 23, and then I was completely kicked out of that.
Why was that again?
um, I mean, as far as I can tell, is that I wasn't the demographic that was allowed to succeed in that particular
Oh, right. Yeah. Right.
industry, pretty
Well,
much.
there's certain things that I did do off and on that were kind of cool. Like I did work in film a little bit in Vancouver and Halifax. I worked in like I got to make some props for something, and I have friends that have done. I have a good friend that still does it. He does it all the time.
Oh, that's pretty cool. What, for
Yeah.
like film boards of Canada or what?
No, he makes like all the props and shit. He's sort of trained up carpenter guy. So he just showed me there the other day. He made a like a fake kind of gothic steeple roof or some horror thing or something.
That's
He's in
sweet.
he's in a studio and he's putting the stuff together. Yeah, he's got it pretty good. He got that through a mutual friend of ours who got him the job. Oh, I didn't know that guy very well. I probably would. I went off. I worked in it a little bit here and there, but I didn't like. ever, like, got into the union or anything. I did it a couple times, but it didn't seem reliable to me. It was always like, okay, what's the next job? What's the next film? They're rushing off to find the next one. Kind of thing.
Right. Right.
I stayed at that time in the safe world of corporate graphic design, where a lot of artists, people that intend to go in creative directions, wind up in the modern world. I believe is good old graphic design,
Yeah.
which
Boy,
is
boy.
basically, it boils down to just moving some text over photos, corporate
Yep.
advertising
Making
here.
sure, making
Put the
sure
logo.
black,
Black what? Oh yeah. That it really became
making
that.
sure black guy with white girl in every single advertisement.
Yeah. Oh, geez, you wouldn't believe the meetings and the fussing that goes over that. How many times
I'm
I've had to
sure.
change the photo and the race and the sex and the holy fuck. That was
Oh my God.
when that reached a certain ridiculous level is when I was like, okay, I'll do this, as much as I need to, but I'm not going to do this any longer. I'm not going to sit in this office and spend all day, changing the race of these guys to be just absolute perfect, while these little committees of women like fuzz over it, like, oh, well, we must have this. I don't know. It was just getting too fucking stupid. So I
I'm
was like, no.
sure. I didn't like putting on the shows, but I loved to direct them because then I just ordered people around. That was awesome. And that's what I was it seemed like I was getting a lot more gigs like that by the end of it, which really sucked. Cause I mean, I knew how to, you know, three-dimensionally build these well, digitally build these sets and things and do the make sure that they sync with beats and all that kind of stuff. And so it was nice to just be able to point at somebody and they'd turn that thing on and point at somebody else and they'd know to bring the lights up or bring the lights down in accordance with whatever kind of performance we're doing. And that was fucking cool. And then I was out.
Right. Just like that.
Just like that. It was very bizarre because the last show I ever did was at Universal Studios, and I directed that motherfucker.
Well, that's pretty cool.
It was cool for that time, and then it was over.
All right. Well, here you are,
Yeah.
kicking around on Telegram.
Hey, I mean, it is what it is, man. I get to do what I want to do. That's cool.
That's true.
I get to
That
talk
is
to
true.
my bud Brendan here. That's what I get to do.
Exactly. Not everyone gets to do that, do they?
No.
Not everybody. Yeah. That's good, yeah. So, anyways, we were straight off. Well, no, I guess we were in a roundabout way talking about stop motion, but yeah, stop motion is cool. It is excellent, and everything works on a needs must kind of way. That's the other. That's the other aspect. That's the hammerfall of consequentialism. Is that there is. I mean, even I laugh now when they invented a CGI filter that imitates stop motion. You ever seen this? It like imitates the
I've
jerkiness or
heard of
whatever.
such. It sounds terrible. Somebody told me about it. Like, dude, it looks like stop motion. And like, I can bet if I watch that, I'm going to be pissed off.
Isn't that funny though? They go through their whole computer rigmarole just to like try to imitate
I'm
the
sure.
the
Of
faulty
course they
jerkiness
do.
of the the handmade thing that was like, and all that the fact the jerkiness was like the incidental kind of, initially the thing they would have rather have not they tried to overcome the human foible part of it and like just have it
Right.
totally seamless and realistic as possible, but that is the thing that people miss and love about it, so much so that they make a filter for it for the computer.
It reminds me of just, breaking the computer's brain. We try to do this so much. Why don't we just not do that and fucking make some shit with our hands?
Yeah, exactly. Well, then again, that goes back to what I was saying about localism and the global structure and the shipping system, and nobody makes their own stuff, and nobody,
Right.
in the old days, you would have had even television originally was very local. Like, you had to make it yourself, and then you broadcast it. It wasn't just like something you bought in and shipped in that was made, for it was the same as everybody everywhere. I suppose you could say they're achieving their globalist aims, but they're completely destroying all culture in the process and turning people into animals, both in the like sense of livestock and making them more feral. It seems like.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds
So
like happy accidents is what that sounds like.
if they, where is the meeting point going to be between the wrongness of their beliefs and the destruction they cause, and their ever progressing technology and their efforts in a certain direction? I always wonder how far they'll get. Will we be? We might literally be like livestock, like pigs in a factory farm before it gets to the point. Well, who knows? I mean, it depends on how well they can automate things. But they can only the dream of automation doesn't worry me or strike me as a reality.
Right.
Never really has. I think it requires, because it's an illusion, like robots and things and self-driving cars. It all requires a
Confidence.
society. Yeah, it requires a society of intelligent people who can, competence. You're right, exactly. Competence, which we
Yeah.
are losing at the same rate as they are increasing the stuff. We are losing competence.
Look, Brendan,
So,
we have the evil. We got that down pat. All right. That's all squared away. Now we have to have like incompetent, controls to enact this evil. And I just don't fucking see it right now.
yeah. So, at what point will their aims finally crumble to dust? I don't know.
Do you think there'll be mumble rap and twerking on the pig farm?
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. Anyways, we're already basically on the pig farm.
Yeah.
Not,
Oh,
we
I
are.
guess so. Yeah.
They're not quite eating us yet, but they're sort of they're feeding off us in another way.
It's pretty neato.
Yes. Anyways, so that's it, I guess. What do you think?
All right. Yeah, sounds good.
Call it a day on that one.
A nice little
nice little what?
nice little short show, what have you. Yeah, happy ending like usual. We end with the sunset comes up and everybody's holding hands.
That's right. That's right. We're like a sweet little kiss on your cheek, putting you to bed at night.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's it. Time to go. So
All right.
I'll put this up on whatever.
Yep.
YouTube. It can go on YouTube. Yeah. No,
A
we
good
failed
deal.
in
All
the
right.
fucking experiment. We failed technically in so many ways, but anyways, we'll figure it out. All right.
This
That's it.
is a
I'm gonna
good
go.
one. Yeah.
Was it? Yeah.
Bye bye.
All right. See ya. Goodbye.